All right, well guys, I'm Mike Greger with Mason & Berry. We got a Daikin screw chiller here. Always refer back to the manual. Daikin has awesome manuals on this thing. You can get them online. Just type in Daikin AWV-IOM. You can download it because sometimes I can misspeak. But now we'll get into it. So this one here has the microchannel coils first. So make sure you don't use any kind of base or an acid cleaner. Like they make one, it's called EnviroCoil, and I think, well, it's not the green, it's kind of clear, but anything it's not going to be harsh to it because these are all aluminum coils. So once you start eating the aluminum away, you're going to start getting leaks in it. This one does use speed drives for the compressors. So you'll have speed drives and slide valves to be capacity controlled. Your displays for the speed drives will be over here. You'll be able to see them here. We've got some speed drives on some fans too for low ambient conditions.
So speed drives operate the same as like a VFD?
That's it. A VFD speed drive, same thing. Let's see. This thing has all the safeties on it. So you'll have your flow switches, your low limits, alarms, low pressure alarms, high pressure alarms. It's going to tell you everything inside this Microtech here. We'll power it up in a minute and then I'll show you guys how to get into it. The condenser fans are permanently lubricated. You don't have to do anything to those. So they're either going to run or they're not.
Those ain't ACM, are they? Are they just?
No, they're a standard motor. And then you'll have speed drives for the first stages of both. Both stages will have one speed drive for a fan for low ambient conditions. Let's see, you got a phase monitor. You have a ground fault switch here. So anything ground faults. So you'll have those safeties to check, say it's not running, you don't have power to anything. It's got to come through these first before you get any power to your controller. Let's see what else we got in here. So we got fans for cooling for the drives. We've got a heater to keep the cabinet warm in the wintertime.
Is it that silver thing?
Yeah, it's like 40 degrees or something before it comes on. But with this thing having power on the electronics, it probably will never come on. Let's see. Yeah, so in this cabinet, we are pretty good. So I'm going to shut it up. Any questions in this cabinet? Because I'm going to shut it to get the power on. So over here, we have our pump down switches and a unit switch right up here. Your toggle switches, okay? So each circuit has its own pump down switch, and then you have the unit switch. Now, in order to switch from like cool to off to any of the different ones, you want to make sure this unit switch is actually turned off. Okay, like especially if you get it won't go into test mode at all if you don't have that unit switch turned off. Yeah, and then you can get in test mode and do different things. So you just you guys use Microtechs? You guys know how to kind of go through a Microtech? Okay, so all the Microtechs that Daikin uses are going to be kind of the same format. They got different software, different code loaded in them. But so you have your selection button, just turns to hit enter, hit the middle of it, and it's just going to click. You can go back one, or if you get into a menu and you want to go all the way back out to the home screen, you can hit the middle one there. Okay. If you have alarms, you'll have a little alarm bell up here. This is going to be ringing. Okay. Hit the alarm button, and it's going to come up and it's going to say your active alarm, and then below it is your alarm log of everything it's counted. So it's going to hold 50 alarms in here as a 50 events, and then it's going to overwrite the oldest one, and so it's just going to keep a current one of that. You do have the option. There's an SD slot here on the top that you can put it in there, and then hit load the SD card, and you can like email it to us. Okay. So like we can take a look at it and see what the trends are and what's going on, and like, hey, okay, this is what's going on there.
Diagnosis.
Yeah.
Looking at it.
Right. So yeah, we can get an idea. Say we needed to bring refrigerant because it looks like it's low, right? Then there's not any place around here to go buy refrigerant real fast. Yeah. So we can always have that with us. So enter your password, and let's see what so it's going to be 5321 for you guys. That's really the simplest one because it doesn't get as deep into it to where stuff can get screwed up. So it's going to be your simple set points, your let's say ambient cutout. You know, if you want it to come on at 40 degrees instead of 50 degrees, you can do all those like user set points is what that is. Once you get it in, there's going to be a little number up here in the top. If you didn't put it in right, it's going to be blank. So like this is level 6. So it'll, if you can't figure it out and it just keeps coming up and it's blank up there, you didn't put it in right. So let's go down the menu real fast, and when you get into view set unit, you can get into status settings, and it's going to tell you what's going on with it. Like right now, the building's got it turned off. It says off remote switch. So the building's off. Or it could say auto. If it's auto, then it's more than likely it's already met set point. The water temperature hadn't got up high enough. It's going to say run, cool. It's going to give you your enable. It's telling you what your next circuit's on. And then let's see. You get down to temperatures. It's going to give you your entering and leaving water temps. And then down at the bottom, it's going to tell you what your set point actually is. Okay. Alarm limits.
What's the standard set point you want to maintain it on?
So it varies. So let's say it's 85, 90 degrees out. Typical schools, typical buildings shoot for about 44 degree water. That's if everything's going right in your building. You got plenty of flow. You don't have restrictions in strainers and stuff like that. The colder it gets outside, for energy conservation, they'll do remote set points. So I think he's varying. He's got a remote set point on here. So like let's say it's a scale, and it starts at 70 is 44, and then if it gets down to 60 degrees, it might be 54 degrees is what. So it's going to raise the temperature of the water here because you don't need that demand because you're not gaining all the heat from the outside. So it's always going to vary. Some schools like it set right where it's at. Some vary it based on energy conservation. And then when you get into hospitals, some of them they're trying to run 40 degree water because ORs to dehumidify. So it's really just based on application. But for here, 44 is 45 is a good number when it's hot out. All right, so we go down to view set unit. This is where you can see. So you'll select your circuits. Well, you won't see that one. All right, so let's put in a different password. 6363. And view set circuit 1, data. So it's going to give you all your data. It's going to calculate superheat, suction superheat, discharge superheat. It's going to give you everything right here. You'll be able to see your EXV position, leaving water temp, everything's underneath that menu there. If you come down to EXV, it's going to give you what the target superheat is on this thing. And you guys know how to calculate. You guys do superheat and subcooling on it?
I don't know.
Okay.
Not really.
All right. Well, you'll be able to tell if it's got its target superheat and it's not meeting superheat, then something's wrong. Like it could be dirty. It could be low water flow, too much water flow. So this thing's going to shoot for a target superheat, and it's going to maintain that while it's bringing the temperature down or holding the temperature, and that's really what it's controlling to. All right. Really, there's nothing else in that you guys would have to change, or you'd be able to find alarms, export alarms, do all that.
Pre-maintenance.
Huh?
Maintenance on
The
it.
maintenance, preventative maintenance. Yeah. So condenser coils, right? So you're going to clean those. You don't have any motors to lubricate. You need to. The gauges are kind of pegged over there, so. If you would see a high differential on your pressure gauges over on your water side, then typically you're going to have like a dirty strainer. So then you guys would have to blow down the strainer or pull a strainer. Sensors on this thing, most of them are really easy. If you guys want to come over here. So they went to these connectors.
Huh.
Okay, it's just a 3-prong connector and it just screws together. So if you have sensors that fail, say leaving water temperature, and it's going to give you an alarm for a leaving water temp. So it's going to say leaving water temp sensor failure, or it might say out of range or something like that. And then you just use a meter, verify it, and then say, oh yeah, that's wrong. Let's get a sensor. So they're pretty simple. Your flow switch for this thing is down here.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So that's a thermal dispersion switch, not a paddle switch. So it's a little rod that sticks down in there, and it heats up as the water goes across it. It cools down, and through that
So-
process, it actually measures the water flow.
So, do you gotta shut anything down, like if it was bad?
If you're going to change that, you're just going to isolate it up here on these valves, and then relieve a little bit of pressure from there, and then just change it. Swap real fast. So yeah, there's your micro channels.
Al, I'm assuming motors for each one right there.
You got two in each set of
Is
these.
that how you access to clean the inside of the cools?
Yeah, these cools, because they're so thin, you can clean them from either side. It's better if you blow them from the outside, but they're pretty easy to clean. You guys got much micro channel stuff?
Some, yeah.
Yeah, they get dirty. Now here's the thing: they can get dirty faster, especially like when the pollen and like this time of year, and when your cottonwood starts popping out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they're an easy cool to clean too. Yeah, maintenance-wise, just the biggest thing is proper water flow and keeping the cools clean. That's cleaning the cools. I mean, everything else you're going to get into when you get into the compressors and inside of that. I mean, that's you're going to classes for that, right? So if there's something that happens that you guys can't figure out, or if make sure it's clean first, and then go from there, and then you got my number. Just call me, right?
Can you write the password for the display somewhere in the cabinet?
Yeah, they're actually in the manuals. If the manual was here. So yeah, I'll get a marker and do it. But yeah, if there was a marker, then, or I mean a manual, then they could just look in there. Yeah, but this is it's simple. The biggest thing is like cleaning, making sure it's got proper water flow, and then when you get alarms, find the alarm button, and then you can export. It's going to have trend data on there, and we can see what's happening at that point, and we can load trends. They look complicated, but once you start working on them, they're simple. And they're simple to take care of if you do your maintenance.
It has a big old control circuit on its own.
Oh yeah, I mean it's just a fancy control circuit, yeah. But the Microtechs, they're a great controller. I think I've only had one fail in 10 years that I've been working on them. So I mean they're a really solid controller. They're made by Siemens.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so like I think all your other rooftop stuff, they got Microtechs in them too. They're super solid. All right. Is that it, guys? Everybody good? All right, we'll close this up, and I guess we'll get started on a rooftop. These are just simple chilled water, hot water rooftops. You got a return fan, a supply fan. Both of them are an ECM fan. There's no lubrication points. There's nothing on them. You'll have a set of filters in the back, of course, and you got return and outside air dampers. I believe the BAS is controlling the set points downstairs for these things. Same kind of controller, same password that we used over there. You just put into here. Alarms are going to be the same way. That does not have contactors for the motors because they're an ECM. They constantly get power and they're told to run. So it's got overloads up here and your phase monitor. SPS 2, so that's going to be a building static pressure. So it's going to control the return fan based off of building static. And if it starts over pressurizing, it'll start kicking some air out once it goes into economizer mode. Right now, I just looked, it's in return air mode, so it's not using the economizer.
You ever had an overload trip out?
That motor goes bad, yeah.
About the only time.
Huh?
About the only time.
The only time, yeah. Yeah, they're not, and it's got a phase monitor, so you shouldn't have an overload trip if it loses a phase. It's typically going to be a tight motor or something. Let's see what yeah, it's got a low trip time. So if it's going to be an incoming power issue, it shouldn't trip those overloads. When you do go to change them though, they come in they're already assembled. It's got the blower wheel on it, it's mounted onto a frame, everything, and it's like 4 bolts, slide it out, put the new one in, 4 bolts, plug it up. It's pretty simple. Where you-
over there now too.
What's that?
Overload.
Oh yeah, each fan's going to have its own overload up there, yeah. But that's got its own contactor, own overload.
Yeah.
Any questions on these? These are really simple. So just remember, you can always get your alarms out and send them to us.
You know what's behind here?
The motor.
Motor.
That's your motor back there.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Now it will come out.
Giant handle on
It will come out.
it.
But it's tight. So when you get all this out, you'll have to loosen this panel up too, because the size of the frame of that motor is very. But it will come out.
We cut the side out of
If not,
you
we
got
got
you got sawzalls.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
That's
There's
right.
one way.
Simple stuff on these motors and coils. All right, so this one's got the manual in it. The manual does have all the preventative maintenance and planned maintenance and stuff. So if you go back to the section, and this one's 129, it's going to give you a list of everything that you need to check annually. So like this one here, all blowers including furnace inducer have sealed bearings, no lubrications necessary. It's going to go down the list. Tighten wire connections, clean the coils, replace filters as required, check power, control voltages. It's just a whole list of things. Then it gets to periodic maintenances, filter replacements, refrigerant charge, how to recharge the system. It'll explain everything in this manual right here. So this one has an inverter style compressor and modulating gas heat. So this thing will control a variable range of variable ranges or temperature ranges. The controls for this, the inverter board, and for the fan are all located over here. It's got its separate inverter board. It's basically like the same kind of compressor they put in all the VRVs in your big variable refrigerant volume. It's controlled by a temperature sensor down in the classroom that they can set the set point on, and it's also tied into the BAS to where you guys can override and give it just like a static set point, so it just holds it right there. And then once you take it off there, then the room sensor will take back over. Same thing, ECM motors. Like I said, no lubrication, no contactors, just overloads.
Has it got the same type of motors as all the other ones?
Yes, same.
Hey, everything's ready to go. You just got to unplug, unscrew,
Yep.
ready to go.
Yep, just get your screws out of it, pull it out, change it. Phase monitor, duct static, building static pressure sensors. So whatever the set points are with the air balancer and whatever he wants goes into the Microtech, and then this thing will maintain duct static by itself. No outside help. Coils, same thing, microchannel, avoid acids and bases like New Bright and stuff, avoid all that stuff. If it does need it, just soapy water or like Enviro Coil, basically soapy water. Or wash it really, really good, like rinse it off. Yeah, but don't do it all the time because you will eat through the aluminum. That stuff just etches aluminum. That's how it cleans. Basically, every time you use it, it takes off just a little bit of aluminum, and by the time you don't have any copper in this, you're gonna have leaks.
We try just to do it once a year. Whenever we
Cleaning?
do it.
Yeah. And every school's different. Every spot's different. So like if you've got a lot of cottonwood trees, you might need it twice a year. If you're by a lot of roads or you got cold trucks, it's all dependent. It all varies based on location of the school. How much rain you get that summer. The drier it is, the dirtier it's going to be. You just got to keep an eye on it. Alarms, same menu structure. Go in. So if you do have an alarm, it'll come up to here. I didn't show you, I forgot. It'll say clear alarms, and then you'll enter, and then you'll cycle over to all, okay? And that will clear the alarm. And then if the alarm still persists, say it's not talking to the motor or something like that, it'll come right back on
But
there.
it'll keep those alarms in its history, right?
Then that will cycle down to the alarm log.
Okay.
Yeah.
How can you clear the alarms? Can you clear it?
Yeah, that's what I was showing right here. So you just go into, you don't even need a password in it. Alarms, active alarms are 0. You click it again, and then you'll cycle over and where it says all. And then if you hit that, and then it's going to say all and then it's going to reset. So the unit's going to go down. Even though there was nothing in there, it's still. He's liking that red.
Apparently.
Yeah. Why don't you grab a hold of him?
He's feeling it.
Other than that, these are really simple and straightforward. Any questions on?
Blue tape for their straight front end with the wire ties.
Oh, it's for vibration. See how that's soldered in there? That's soldered in there. I guess they started putting this on so when stuff vibrates, it doesn't crack that solder joint the way it's like a T. So they basically make a hole in the pipe, stick it in, solder it up, and so they're just supporting it. If you feel it, it's like got some soft, and there's like a plate kind of sitting right there. Yeah. So it's just for vibration.
How many amps does GFCIs in that rated for?
This,
Yeah.
I think they're a 10 amp outlet. If we look on the schematic, it might say, but most of them are a 10 amp. They're not a 20 amp outlet. It's more for hooking up laptops and doing smaller stuff. I mean, you can run vacuum pumps off of them, usually.
Plus they got the individual.
Okay.
Yeah, then
They were probably
a
putting
separate
their-
circuit there, yeah. This is just a convenience outlet, and they're almost always 10 amps.
Don't
So you're not going to run a heater out here when you're working on it.
You're not gonna run pressure water.
Yeah.
Run it off that.
Did I mention you guys got a phase monitor? Same thing. It's just over here. So red light means bad, green light's good. Red light's going to give you flashing, and it's going to be a sequence. It's going to tell you phase, missing, over voltage, under voltage, and imbalance. It's going to tell you what it's actually tripped out on. So if you come up and it says missing phase, then you know somewhere down in the building you got something going on.
We've got the little schematic right on it, like what it's gonna tell you, like the code.
Yeah, it's right here, right on the top. So it's got right on the top. It's going to tell you what it is.
Okay. So you can just take a picture of it and blow it up.
Yeah, yeah. Or put your readers on.
Pretty little.
Yeah. Gas heat's the same way. It's going to fire off to a certain point and maintain that temperature. So whatever your return's coming back at, it's going to look at a discharge set point for the heat and then maintain that. Most of these, let me see how these are. Well, did they do the air balance already?
I think they've done air. They haven't done water.
Okay.
They air balance this?
Yeah. I don't know if they're done. Okay, yeah, so it is set to speed. So the network is giving it a command for the speed. So they're not gonna, the motor shouldn't be ramping up and down based off the controller. It's gonna be from the building telling it, we need more air, we need less air. But typically when they do the air balance, they'll give them a set speed. We want this number, and that's where you need to run at. And then the return/exhaust fan is going to come on and run based on building static pressure. So when you get in economizer mode and start bringing in fresh air so the doors don't stay blown wide open, then it'll start sucking air out and discharging it out the side over there.
What's the purpose of having so many ports?
Well, these so you can change the compressor without pulling the whole refrigerant. Ball valves on this side of it and ball valve on that side. You got ball valves.
Lose minimal.
Yeah, you only lose a little bit of vapor here as opposed to having to pull the whole refrigerant charge.
That's nice.
Yeah,
That'd
Yeah.
be nice if you could put that on all your.
yeah, isn't it? Yeah. But a lot of these ports are all your test ports. So this has hot gas reheat for dehumidification. So that's why you've got all these other test ports here so you can see where your refrigerant flow is going. Actually, if you're not dehumidifying, why aren't you dehumidifying? So you can start tracing down all your pressures and like, this valve's not working, like our hot gas valve's not working. It's going to maintain dehumidification basically or based off of the BAS also. Or is it going on, is it off the BAS? No, it's off the room sensor. Room sensors have
Yeah, it should
humidity sensor.
be 60%. It should kick in.
Yeah,
Something like that.
Warm.
yeah.
Not too warm though. About 115 degrees.
Let's get the thermometer and check it.
It's about that probably.
It's Probably a little warmer than that.
120,
120.
give or take.
122. um,
Only reason I say that, 'cause
So-
I felt one last night. I was working on my nephew.
This furnace board will give you fault codes. So refer to the manual and the codes. If it
So it,
loses flame, doesn't detect flame,
will the codes be?
it's going
on
to be
the
right
level
here. Yeah,
screen?
yeah, it's going
okay.
to tell you right there.
And I'm assuming these buttons you can select, change to.
Yeah, but there's really nothing to really change
Cycle
on it.
through 'em.
Yeah, it's going to give you just a fault code. It's going to come up. I can't remember if these say like an F1 or F27 or F.
But it should be in the manual.
It's going to be in the manual. All of them are going to be in the manual. Yeah. It's maybe pressure switch doesn't close. It's
What's that little board up in the corner for? Is that a control board?
yeah, RHB. Let's see what it says.
So I see it's just got a flashing green light. Run out of code.
RHB. Let's see what it is. Reheat board. So that's So that's going to be controlling your valve right here. So their schematics are awesome too.
Oh yeah, that is.
So it's going to tell you everything where it's at, and then everything's labeled, and you can come right down here and see what it is.
It gives
so-
you a picture of what you're actually looking for too.
Right, and it's going to tell you where you're located. So like this panel right here is going to be that panel right there. Yeah, all your terminal blocks. So they make it really easy and convenient for you.
They wouldn't be bad if for us to make copies of this, keep it in the shop. In case the seals ever wear out on this, so we'll always have a copy of it.
Oh, remember, you can also get all this stuff online. Daikin has all their stuff online. Yeah, and they're simple to find. Typically, it's like the first three of the model number and type in IOM, Installation Operation Manual. And you can get out everything's, it'll come in a PDF file, boom, just open it up and you'll have everything on your phone. Yeah, yeah, they make it super simple for people to be able to work on their stuff and get literature on their stuff. I really don't see anything else in here that's special, that's not in every other unit. You guys got any more questions on this one?
Got your limit switches right there, your high and low pressure.
Yep. Pressure transducers. Got it all. Like with any unit though, it's the best is just keep it clean. When they're clean, they're happy, right? So, yep, so that's just it. Filters, coils, do all that stuff first if you have problems. If you come up here and you notice it's not cooling or it's not dehumidifying very great or whatever, make sure it's clean. Make sure you got the proper airflow and across the evaporator coil and the reheat coil, and make sure you got proper airflow across your condenser, and this thing should take off.
And then the fan motors are great drive, aren't they?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, they're made into like I said, they're the ECM. They've already got the bracket on it. It just already comes pre-assembled. So if you have a motor go bad,
Place it all.
take the screws out. You got 4 bolts. Yank it out. Put the new one in. All right. All right, guys. This is a unit ventilator. Simple design. Just chilled water, hot water. A single blower motor right over here. It's an ECM motor. No oil ports on it. Don't worry about that. Maintenance. You got filters down here at the bottom. Did you have to take the panel off to get the filters off? Okay. So yeah, you will have to take that panel off to change the filters. They are controlled with Belimo valves for the chilled water and hot water. It does have a dirty filter safety switch right down here at the bottom. So it's going to cut the control off. Fuses right here on the front. Disconnect switch. And it's the same thermostat that Jeff went over yesterday at Chapmanville at the primary, so you guys are familiar with that. It is tied into the BAS, so you should be able to see everything from there, override stuff from there. 7 amp, 500 volt, 7 amp fuse. It's probably a little glass fuse behind there. It does have outside air dampers for the CO2 and for economizing. So you can see them over there. It's got a bigger Belimo actuator over here. These are simple. I mean, that's pretty much it. What's that?
Outside damper. We got face bypass motor on it.
Yes. Yeah. Yep, so it'll close down the return a little bit and bring in outside air.
How long does the override last for on this school? Sunday.
Typically they're an hour.
Usually 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, an hour to 3 hours, anywhere between there. It's really whatever it's set up for. Yeah. So, any questions on these at all?
How do you see what dampers do without control? Do you typically see?
Well, you just look at the position of the actuator. There's an actuator and it's got a 0 to 90 mark on the side of it. So it's going to tell you we're in a certain position. You have to take panels off to see that. There's nothing that you'll be able to see without taking panels off. And if you look and say it's calling for economizer and you open it up and nope, it's definitely not working. Well, then of course check your voltages, make sure you're getting the signal to it. And if you're getting a signal to it, then check and make sure that none of the linkages are bound, because a lot of times they'll bind up and that motor can't overcome it. So make sure your linkages are loose and free flowing. And then if they are, you got a bad motor. All right, class dismissed.